Okay, hello everyone. This March 20th here in beautiful on the diplomatic back channel. You can see it, I think, out the window here. What we're going to do today is two big things. One, we're going to follow up on the coronavirus story. The channel just, or the news conference just ended. So we're going to follow up on who we believe patient zero was in October of 2019 in Wuhan. It's going to be this person by the name of Matya Banasi, and we're going to follow up on that. But we're also going to show you how to add value in comments. So when we call it newsroom, we're going to show you live in person what newsroom is, but then also you can play this game of, hey, you take the presentation so far and the comments so far, and then you add value. You do a lookup on Matya, and so everybody here around the table, we have Dave from Detroit over there. Thanks, Dave, for being here. We have Tim from over here, and you're from
Michigan.
Michigan. Oh, not Detroit. We want two Michigans, and then we have Canada with Scout over here. Scout is from Canada. So this is just exemplary. This is just an example to show how one group, and the idea is even with just a very few people, 6, 7 people, by the time you get to the end of the first round, you have more information than experts actually have. And you see this every day with Wikipedia. It starts out with the beagle is a dog, and then you end up with, the American Kennel Club version, and the Westminster Kennel Club, and all that sort of thing. So here's what we're going to just go over briefly the facts. Again, you can watch my video yesterday if you don't remember. But the facts here are Matya Banasi is an armed diplomatic security officer. We're going to have a presentation right over here, and we'll show you her information. Go ahead. She's also a biker for the U.S. Armed Forces, which you can see right off her LinkedIn. She is an armed diplomatic security officer from Woodbridge, Virginia. Not far from here, up the diplomatic back channel, right? So that's confirming what she does, okay? Now, she's not just any armed diplomatic security officer. She actually works for, remember Pete Buttigieg in EUCOM, the European Command? She actually works for a 4-star general. We don't know if that's James Jones, Bergey's James Jones or not, but it may very well be. See my episodes that I did on Bergey if you want to look at that. But we believe actually she drove for the NATO Supreme Allied Commander, which is James Jones. He's the same guy with ShadowNet, if you've watched my Bergey episodes, Private First Class Bergey. Okay, so what we're going to do is now going to simulate the game, which is now we're going to go around the room and people are going to add value. I'll add mine later on because I'm presenting and so forth. So we're going to start with the topic of Matya Banasi, and I'll start with Wuhan. She was in Wuhan. She was in this bicycle race on October the 20th when she contracted the virus in Wuhan. And we'll go to Dave now as the first player in the first round.
Okay. Well, I just learned this person's name just today, just read it while we were watching the news conference. So I just did a quick search on her and just discovered that she was, was a top cyclist. She was leading the military games for 3 of the 5 laps and crashed and still did well. But that's really all I know is that she's an excellent cyclist.
Yeah, and the military games were in Wuhan during.
In Wuhan, correct. Yeah, that was the article was that she was leading that race and in that event, and then had the fall or crash, and then still did well, but it just shows that she's a great cyclist, I guess.
And many nations were represented, and if you have intel background, it would be a great place to spread a virus if that you were doing a bioweapon.
It seemed like it's kind of like a military version of the Olympics, just based on what I saw from Mark's show. Just like a lot of different, people that have done different training to go and sort of show their stuff in a games type environment.
Great. Okay, so we're going to go to the next slide, and then we'll move over to Tim in a second. But we'll go to the next slide just to show you that that's a picture of her. I believe in 2013. You can see the NATO on there. You can see the spaghetti there and the different badges. I don't know if that's marksman's. I would guess that she would have to be a marksman. And again, you can see that she was in Stuttgart at EUCOM and driver for the Supreme Allied Command there, which is the SHAPE headquarters, which we've talked a lot about, the NATO generals and so forth. So we're going to move to Tim now, not exactly in the Detroit area. Tim, what would you add to that?
What I just was finding out, George, is that these names, I can connect with them on LinkedIn, and the history of Matt Benassi, and where in the Air Force, the Spa Wars, everything, none of this is hidden.
Right.
So, but I had never heard the name before, but I've got his picture. I can connect with him. Maybe I could ask him what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, we're close here in Virginia. There is this second person. I'll go over here to our whiteboard again. There is this second person, and I know this identity was used. I know this identity was used by Matya. Matya also used this identity of Matt. That's a key linkage point between these two. They're both at Fort Belvoir. The real identity, or the other identity, or the alter identity of Matt is 13 years at Spa War. Now you can see easily if you're trying to get an intel officer in, Mott, could be, you bring in the cyclist as the cover, and then you bring in the intel officer to do the dirty work, right? So 13 years, Air Force Space Command. Again, Spa War comes up over and over again as this group of sort of newly created weapons group that happens after World War II with these paperclip Nazis. And it seems now we're going to be going from Air Force Space Command all the way to Space War, Spa War, Space Command. So, and then an Army Logistics Command there as well. Now I'll add in another little piece here, which is Benny Benassi. This story has a lot of Benassi, and this story has a lot of Dutch. She's Dutch. She grows up in a Dutch neighborhood in high school, but he's also Dutch, and he's the first coronavirus victim in Holland. So that's quite a coincidence, if you ask me. So
are
go ahead.
Benassi's deceased?
No, they're quite alive.
They all survived.
Yeah.
The event
He's
that
alive.
The event that she cycled in was in the fall last year, I think.
Yeah, it was in
2019 October.
October 20th, 2019. Yes, they're all still alive. Yes, she's alive. No fatalities here. So finally, we're going to go to Scout here, and from Canada, NATO is being represented. Five Eyes is being represented here from Canada. Don't worry about Canada. So.
Well, I would say three victims or people who've contracted the virus with the same last name. That's just improbable. So is this an intelligence code name? And I guess my comment would be, are there not enough Americans to work in the intelligence forces? We've got Fiona Hill at the State Department and a bunch of Dutch people who all have the same last name, who all contracted the virus.
Yeah. So, and this is going to go back, again, Mark Kulak reported on this not too long ago. Thank you very much, Scout. Mark Kulak reported on this connection of using diplomatic couriers again. We're going to talk about diplomatic immunity, no searches, right? For moving these different biological samples to 29 different places that's doing weapons development. And the weapons development was known as a CBEP. That was a cooperative biological enhancement program, which is a weapons development program, right? So that's the key thing to note here is these CBEPs. This one comes from Tbilisi. This one comes from Tbilisi, Georgia. We can trace the travel of Matya to Tbilisi, Georgia. Now that's important because that means there was couriering going on. Now I'm not saying she knows about it. She may be the cover, she may be the driver, but then Mott could be used as a cover and the operative. So we don't.
Do they have a cover of the siblings or a married couple or anything like that?
Great questions. And this would be great for people on the internet to look up and see. Like some people have genealogy.com, some people have newspapers.com, some people have other different research tools that you can use. Go ahead, Tim.
I just wondered, do they know Rudy Decker? Do they know the Dutch that were involved in the 9/11? Did they run the airports?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Rudy Decker maps to, again, these bioweapons because Rudy Decker has an IP address also mapping to Fort Belvoir.
Cool.
Remember all the different people in our story that map to Fort Belvoir. We have the three Ukrainians with OKNY, Ansky, Fruman, and Parnas. We also have Adam Schiff and Peter Strzok connecting to them. And now we also have Rudy Deckers connecting to Fort Belvoir. That's really important because one of the scholars from one of of the foundations that an employee came up to me where these weapons are developed from the University of Delaware and said, hey, it's the Duisburg Foundation. I'll just tell you the answer to the test right now. We don't know. That's just somebody who came up from the foundation and said, hey, it's the Duisburg Foundation. I'm going to tell you the answer. We do have documentary evidence that 3 scientists from North Carolina, from Wuhan, came to the University of North Carolina and worked on the bat, horseshoe bat adaptation, the zoonotic transfer. Usually you need an intermediate animal to then transfer to humans. It doesn't usually go, not many humans eat bats. It doesn't usually go, it goes to an intermediate animal, sometimes it's a pig or something like that, then to the human. So we don't have those answers, but again, it's interesting that this coronavirus is derivative of that zoonotic transfer from horseshoe bats. Again, a lot of things pointing to Fort Detrick, where weapons development has occurred for a long time, and a lot of things pointing to these scientists. So yeah, go ahead, Jim.
So people that get the coronavirus, these official things, how long does it last for these people?
Well, I think it's, in the case, it depends on your treatment. If you get the complement, I'm very familiar with a case where the person got the complement from the SARS virus. The SARS, if you're not killed by SARS, remember there was a 2003 attack. If you're not killed by that and you have your plasma taken out, you get rid of the bad stuff, the poison, the pathogen, and then you raise the antibodies. That person's white blood cells have the antibody, have the key thing that you need to defeat the strike protein, the S protein that's heading. Okay, and that's what you have to do, is you have to block that receptor. That's the angiotensin 2 receptor. So, a question? Are we good? So that's it. Now your job out there, now we've kind of got the ball rolling, and we've got 2 other folks now, I've just been alerted, that are on their way here. We're going to have a 3rd person coming down from DC, so we're going to continue this charrette. This is a kind of a shared creative exercise, but with a few more people and some journalists, amplifies, and scales when you add additional people to the round. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you soon.